In this series, I will interview guests to talk about a time in their career that took guts. Together, we'll learn about the outcome of their decision and the actions they took and the lessons learned from these actions. For everyone joining us today, we would be so grateful if you could start a watch party to help us get this message out to all those who need to hear it. My team member, Casey, is in the comments, so please leave your questions and comments below, and she will be sending them to me. Today, I am joined by Caitlyn Hoey. Caitlyn is the agency director at NGNG Enterprises, and let me tell you, this is no small task. Every day, she is managing clients, she's managing projects, designers, developers, timelines, and this is an extremely high pressure, fast paced job, and she makes it look so easy. She's a mom of two and a firefighter's wife, and she entered the online world of social media and business support in 2014 to create a better work-life balance for her and her family. She's been with NGNG for about a year now, and she's so great to work with. I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to work together. So Caitlyn, can you tell us a little bit more about your role at NGNG and about some of the services and support that the agency provides?
Yeah, of course. So as you kind of mentioned, I work very closely with clients and the designers. I'm kind of usually the person who bridges the gap and just make sure that everything goes seamless in a project. So, on the agency side, we are doing pretty much anything and everything website related. If you're, looking to start a brand new website, we're your people. If you want to do a redesign or maybe just even a landing page, any logos, graphic needs, the web, we have several designers on the team who are super talented. Everyone has their own little niche that they just work so great in. So yeah, we're just helping business owners to really elevate their websites and make them be a little bit more experiential than when they first were.
I have to tell you too, the websites that the agency is putting out is just unbelievable. Some really cool, unique, professional designs. I mean, what's great is you guys put out websites that really match the personality for every single client. It's no template cookie cutter project in any way whatsoever. And I mean, huge shout out to our designers and developers because they just do amazing work. And I'm so impressed by them every time you guys, share your latest project you've been working on.
No, it's the designers that we have on the team are super talented. And as you said, it's really interesting when we do our initial design calls. It allows me to kind of get a greater understanding for the content needs and get everything structured along with Amber. And then the designers really just dive into their personalities and they figure out how to make their personality shine through their web pages. So I mean, everything is different. As you said, there's no cookie cutter, there's no one size fits all. Everything is super unique and different, and it's just a compliment to what their personality is and what they stand for.
All right, so let's transition and talk about a time in your career that took guts. So can you give us a little bit of background about your work history and tell us what you did before coming on to NGNG?
Yeah, of course. So kind of diving back to, I guess, 2014 when I first entered the online business space. I was a new graduate, so I was fresh out of college. And then I also had my daughter in 2014. So I was really wanting to make it my mission to figure out how to have a little bit more work-life balance. At the time, I was spending 2.5 hours a day commuting, and it was just draining and not fun. So initially she was my inspiration, and I was like, you know what, I kind of transitioned into the administrative stuff, and as it was good and it was a great experience and it got me into the online space, but then I just started realizing there's so much more, and the amount of growth that you can just be a part of in the online world, especially with working with small, entrepreneurs who are just starting off their businesses. I worked with several coaches, And it was really interesting learning different things that, they don't teach you in college. So it's just, it gave me like a completely different understanding for business. And it was interesting. It was really cool to get before I entered the online world, I was actually working for a local city government. I thought that I was going to be a city manager or a city planner, and that was what I wanted. And then as I got more and more into the online world, I was like, okay, it's time to transition. So we did a nice little pivot. So it was cool. It was definitely, all inspired by my daughter. But, I spent 5 years working with just various clients. And then I was really lucky to make a connection with Amber last year. And that's kind of how everything blossomed here with NGNG.
So how did you first transition into the world of entrepreneurship? Did you know someone in your network who needed some of your services, or how did that all play out?
The only person I knew at the time who was doing online work was my older sister, and she was doing voiceover work. So it was very different. But she had started using some just different like freelance websites that she kind of referred to me, but I knew no one. And like, it's so embarrassing looking back at it, but like, I was so eager and like lowballed myself and undervalued what I was worth just to get into the online space. But then as I gained more confidence and started to realize that this could be something, because everyone in my extended family and my friends thought I was crazy. But then it started to evolve and develop. And then I had so many people that I was connected with who were reaching out to me like, okay, you made it work. How did you do it? So there wasn't really anyone to like work off of at that point in time. So it was all very unknown.
It's funny. I love that you said like, oh, I was embarrassed and, we did these projects, and it's funny. I think we all have those stories. And I think for anyone looking to, get started or make a career move, or you're looking to go out on your own, don't worry too much about what the content is right away, right? You're going to learn a lot of lessons along the way. It's not going to be perfect. You're not always going to make the right decisions. And I think it's fun as we grow to be able to look back and say, oh my gosh, like here's what I started with, but look how I've grown over, 6 months or a year or 5 years, whatever it might be. So really cherish those projects, whatever you're working on now. Obviously you are doing your best work, but if you feel like, it's not perfect, that's okay. If it's good, if it's your best, put it out there. Don't always let perfection get in your way. Sometimes it's just taking that first step, getting the job done, putting it out there, and then massaging it and just manipulating it along the way. So ultimately it will reach perfection, or technology changes and you'll end up having to have to go back and redo it anyways, because especially in websites, right? Oh my gosh, like it seems like every 6 months just the design world is changing when it comes to web design.
Definitely. It's crazy. Very fast paced out there.
So what were some of your biggest fears? So you left your government job. What were some of your fears or hesitations you had, looking back before making the leap into entrepreneurship?
I knew that I was just going to have to take the plunge and do it, but I was terrified because I did have a child. I did need to be able to provide. And there was always like, what if I fail in the back of my head constantly? But at the same time, you don't know if you're going to succeed or fail, and you just have to make that jump. But that was probably my biggest fear, was just failing and then not really knowing what was next for me. Luckily, I didn't find myself failing. I found myself thriving. So that was very fortunate. It was a very just great experience to have.
So were there any ups and downs you experienced along the way?
Definitely. I think especially, being in entrepreneurship and starting your own business, and whether you're contracting out with clients, especially in the beginning, you kind of have your like roller coaster of like your ups and your downs, but like the stability of work sometimes would be extremely like just critical, because it's like, okay, I could have a really good 2-3 months, and then next month it might not be so great. So those kind of obstacles were, always in the back of my head. And those were stuff that I did experience, as I'm sure everybody does who does enter, entrepreneurship. But as I kind of got my footing, everything started to really level out, and I started to have very consistent months.
So can you tell us what you love most about your job now?
Yes. I've been thinking about this so much lately too, which is funny. I have found myself, especially with like NG, just, I know one of Amber's biggest things is personal connection, and how that has spread across the entire company is amazing to watch. But that's something that I really look forward to now, is that I feel like our company, we get to meet some incredible people. We get to make these connections with those, and we get to help them with their business and elevate their websites or elevate their online marketing presence. It's really cool to watch all of our clients thrive, and then amazing to be able to work with such talented people who are able to be a part of the journey and to deliver this final outcome to the clients. So it's just been an incredible thing to like really take a step back and look at.
We do attract some of the most amazing clients. I mean, it is so cool, the people that we get to work with. I really, I think we all get attached to all of them, and it's fun, those that have, offboarded, to continue to watch their progression. So yeah, I can totally relate to that on the book launch side of the division or side of the business. I have a question. When you first started working for NGNG, did you start off as a leverage to scale? Were you doing leverage to scale for us?
I was trained in it. I was kind of, especially because when I did start out, I had my newborn. So
oh, that's right.
In the beginning, it was a lot of like smaller tasks and just kind of like wherever, I could be needed and help with social media. I was very familiar with leverage to scale, but I probably wasn't as involved as some of the other girls that were brought on around the same time as me.
Would you recommend leverage to scale to some of our clients, or if you see, business owners or entrepreneurs, as you talk to them?
Absolutely. You just get such a greater understanding for how all the platforms work and how to elevate your social media presence. And, I was very familiar with social media at the time, but there's still just like crazy little bits of knowledge that are scattered throughout that course that it's just like aha moments and things that I wasn't aware of before. Especially for those who, I know like YouTube right now is becoming big, and with like live streaming and getting videos on there, there's so much to know about YouTube. I did not know that there was so much to be aware of. So it's an absolute asset to any business.
Yeah, that's the one thing I love about it too, is it really teaches you how to get all of your content marketing and social media marketing done for you. I like to describe it as it's a program that, teaches a business owner to fish. So I think you've heard that saying, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. And I feel like that's really what leverage to scale is. It's really teaching the process. But the great thing is it's teaching the business owner, but she's training the business owner's assistant on how to do it for them, or their personnel to do it for them. And it's just so amazing. I just love the platform. The training is just above and beyond anything I've ever seen. And, she's just a master when it comes to systematizing, and how she laid out the process step by step for managing your social media and publishing it and tracking and reporting. It's just, I am still impressed every time I see it,
No, 100%. And I mean, just what you're saying with like the systematizing, it saves you time, which is like, you're not lost in like trying to figure out what to put out next. It's like, there's a process for everything and it walks you through step by step. So it's definitely.
So for those who are thinking about maybe starting their own business or perhaps becoming a VA, do you have any tips for individuals thinking about taking that leaps? Perhaps they are in a corporate job now and are ready to get out and get off on their own. Any thoughts or advice?
I would say just do it. like taking a line from Nike, I guess. But seriously, I mean, you're not gonna know. And it's one of those. I ended up going back after I had Peyton, my daughter, to my government job for like 9 or 10 months. And had I had just done what I wanted to do during that time, right before she was born, I wouldn't have lost out on those 10 months. So I think there's always going to be fears. There's always going to be hesitation, but when you take the risk, the reward is so much greater. And I would just go for it.
Oh my gosh, when you take the risk, the reward is so much greater. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So as I explained before, you are a working mom of two, and it's some crazy times we're in right now with COVID happening. Man, we just got the notification last night that our school district kids will be learning virtually until mid-October. So, it's challenging being a working mom and trying to manage your family and homeschooling. I have a little one at home who needs some support. My teenager, he's good. He can handle it. I think he's actually probably kind of happy about it. But the little one, he needs some social interaction, and it's definitely takes some adjusting, having to homeschool and work, full-time job and be a mom. But any thoughts or advice you have for the audience out there, the parents watching? How are we going to get through this, right? How are we going to make it?
It's interesting because Peyton was at least in VPK this last year, so there's some more flexibility, and now she's entering kindergarten, so we don't really know what this looks like yet. So I know personally for me, there's some early mornings and there's some later evenings, but just trying to carve out that time during the day to be with your kids and to help them along the way. Because as frustrated as we might get as parents, they're just as frustrated, if not more. I know she's been going stir crazy, and this is such a weird time for them that we'll make it work one way or another. And I think that's all we can do is just kind of go with the flow.
I think that's true. You'll just figure it out along the way. I can tell you in the spring, there were maybe a lot of days where there were some tears, maybe from both of us.
I understand that.
But that actually is true. You just figured out along the way. Definitely, we made some schedules, which helped a little bit. And there were some breaks, sometimes mid mornings, just so we could get through some of the online classes. And then, you just come back to the office when everybody's done with dinner, or it's getting up a little bit earlier and trying to get some work done before the day starts. But I think that would be my best advice is just plan for it, and maybe don't have too many expectations and just be flexible.
Exactly. 100%.
Oh my gosh, Caitlyn, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. And it really is such a pleasure to work with you. I'm so excited about everything that we're doing at NGNG with live streaming and the agency and book launches and leverage to scale, of course. So many neat things are happening. To all the viewers out there, we appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in, and have a fantastic afternoon.